Good morning, everybody. This is Eric Lofholm. I want to welcome all of you to Create Revenue Now for speakers and coaches. And I'm thrilled that you have decided to join me today. And today may unlock something for you. It may unlock a lot for you. People who feel called to speak and called to coach may not necessarily have made the connection to how do I serve people and receive compensation at the same time. And so, for me, I've always thought it's pretty darn important to get paid, right? Because if I don't get paid, then I can't get the office space, or I can't hire the assistant, or if I can't get paid, then I need to go work a job and do that's not my purpose. And so, I always made the connection about the importance of having revenue and income coming in directly related to how I was serving people. And I've been around some really amazing mentors that were great at that. We're going to talk today about Dante Pirano. We're going to talk about Tony Robbins, Donald Moyne. These are three people that are brilliant at serving people and also receiving compensation. So I've had the opportunity to receive really the highest level mentoring that you can. And I'm excited to pass it along to you today. If you've ever felt frustration around how do you connect serving people and getting paid? How do you deal with the feelings of, I want to coach people, but I'm uncomfortable asking them to pay me? A very common thing that comes up. So we're gonna get into some really cool strategy. We're going to talk about some AI stuff today. We're going to talk about different Create Revenue Now models. And I'm really excited that you're here. This content has been transformational for me. Do you feel called to speak and or coach? So just type yes in the chat if you feel called to speak or called to coach. I feel called to speak, so I'm gonna put yes in the chat. When you speak, your confidence increases, your communication skills improve, your speaking skills get better. One of the things that holds some people up, you're all at different levels of your speaking career. Some of you have given lots of speeches. Some of you, maybe you haven't given your first speech yet. And I'll often coach beginning speakers, get to 10 speeches as quickly as you can. Instead of focusing on that first speech, which can be very fearful, focus on getting to 10 speeches as quickly as you can. When you speak, people experience you differently. For example, if you met me at a Chamber of Commerce meeting, and we were sitting at the circular tables, maybe we were having lunch there, and you meet me as your peer at the Chamber of Commerce meeting, you're going to have a certain experience of me. If I'm at the same Chamber of Commerce meeting and we're sitting there and you become aware that I'm the speaker, and then I get up and I speak, you're going to have a different experience of me. And I call that shaping the listening of the other person, the person or the audience. And this is where we're going to talk a little bit about thought leader today, of you stepping into and being a thought leader. And for some of you, that's a higher level of self-image. You're not used to putting yourself out there in a thought leader way. And it's something for you to consider, because it certainly helps you as a speaker, and it helps you to sell courses and coaching if you're positioned as a thought leader. And so I'm going to give you some specific strategies on how to do that. I'm going to tell you a story about one of my newest clients who, in our coaching call, I encouraged him to create a book around the area that he wants to coach in. And he's all about bold, decisive action. So he'll coach you on how to take bold, decisive action. I'm like, why don't you write a book about bold, decisive action? And in like a week, he got going with the book, and I'm going to show you his book cover here in a little bit. So he was taking his own bold, decisive action. Creating revenue now, if you're not creating the revenue that you want, it's going to require new action. More of the same equals more of the same. So we want to be looking for some new actions that we can take. Now, I'd like to have you capture something in your notes right now, and I want you to label it like this. Best ideas I learned today. And then we're going to capture a space for 10 ideas. So if you can do this in like Microsoft Word, or if you have a journal with you right now, you could do it in a journal, or if you have a yellow tablet, and just capture what's on the screen here. So when I say an idea to you, certain ideas are going to land much more powerfully than others. And there's going to be things that are going to resonate with you. And you're going to be like, yes, that rings true for me. Yes. For example, bold, decisive action. Is there anybody on the Zoom right now where you're resonating with, you know what, I need to take more bold, decisive action? If that's you, just type the word yes in the chat. And that is resonating with me. As bold of the action as I take and as decisive as the action, I need to be even bolder, thinking even bigger, going after even larger opportunities, being even more powerful, even more confident. You know, when you're the speaker, you're the leader. When you're the coach, you're the leader. So capture your 10 best ideas. If taking more bold, decisive action is one of your 10 best ideas, capture that in the notes, in your 10 best ideas. There's a version of you that exists inside of you that you haven't met yet. This is one of my favorite quotes. And what this means is that as you go out there and you take bold, decisive action, and as you switch things up and you try new things, you're going to meet aspects of you that you've never met before. I was talking to a woman recently, and she's getting ready to launch a TV show. And she was conveying that she's hoping that the TV show is successful. And as she was communicating the hope of it being successful, she was revealing to me what was going on in her subconscious mind. And there's nothing wrong with hoping, but there's also something different in creating. I'm going to create a powerful TV show that people are going to be excited to watch. And I'm going to show up and I'm going to lead this thing in a way that creates that result. That's a different energy than hoping. And you have that in you. I've been telling this story lately about Billy Joel. I've studied him for many years, and there's a new documentary out about him on HBO. Part 2 is going to be airing tonight if you have HBO. There's probably other ways you can find it if you don't have HBO. Last week was part 1. And there was a story that Billy Joel told I'd never heard before. And this is before he made it big. The album that took him, into stardom was The Stranger. And the albums that were created before The Stranger did not sell well until after The Stranger came out. And then people were like, oh, The Stranger, we like this. What are his other albums? So then people went, they bought the albums that had been done before. So he hadn't done The Stranger yet. He hadn't made it big yet. And he needed a producer, and he had recently signed with Columbia Records, one of the top record labels out there. And the former Beatles producer showed up in Billy Joel's world. And he came and saw Billy perform, and he sat down with Billy and he said, I do want to produce you. So imagine you're Billy Joel. You haven't made it big yet. And the former Beatles producer wants to produce you. It's pretty big deal. That's about as big a deal as it gets. It's probably Billy Joel's number one choice for producer. And the producer said, but you can't have your band. I'm going to need to find you new band members. And Billy said, pound sand. So I want you to think about the power of that. He was so convicted in who he is and his loyalty to his band. He's like, you can't seduce me with you're the Beatles guy. It doesn't matter. So I want you to get connected to who you are. And if you're called to do the work, I'm a believer. I'm going to use the word God in our training today. God himself has called you to do whatever you're called to do. And so get connected to that. I was coaching a woman the other day, and she was telling me about how she has these doubts. And what she does is she coaches couples. She works with men and women that are in a committed relationship like a marriage, and they're struggling. And that's a lot of couples out there. They're fighting, they're arguing, they're not being faithful, they're wanting to leave, they're having a hard time. And maybe they have kids, and so she feels called to work with these couples and help them communicate and help them work through the trauma and so forth. And so we're on the coaching call, and she conveys to me that her parents told her over and over and over, who are you to ... Who are you to become a homeowner? Who are you to become a whatever they were telling her. And they pounded that into her. And so I'm giving her these coaching instructions, and she's not taking action. She goes, Eric, I'm dealing with some feelings of doubt. Who am I to go out and do it? And I said, God himself has called you to work with these couples. So lean into that thought, not the thought of your parents who didn't, whatever their thing was, forget that. Lean into that thought. Anytime you have doubt, I'm called by God himself to do this. When you're prospecting for speaking engagements, instead of going, who am I to go and speak to this group? Come from, I'm an expert, I'm called to do this. A very common thought people have is it's questioning the relevancy of their message. Does my message matter? Will people care about it? Right? Well, if you ask yourself that question, you're going to get a not so good answer. So instead of looking at it like that, go, I'm called to do this. And when you prospect, don't focus on how they're going to respond.